Hit subscribe to the DIY Writer to support your hardworking authors and also lessen your chances of ending up as a victim in their next book. The world's largest UFO conference, Contact in the Desert, announces the launch of their 8th annual and very first virtual event. This event is focusing on UFOs and the year of science, also consciousness and the future. This will be held June 24th to 28th, 2021. Contact in the Desert is renowned for its top lineup of experts in the fields of ufology, forbidden archaeology, government disclosure, alien phenomenon, crop circles, and much more. Contact in the Desert already is the largest UFO conference in history and will now be the largest UFO conference in the virtual world, with over 60 lectures, 40 workshops, 11 panels, featured speakers presentations, virtual tours to Giant Rock, and other interactive events. Go to contactinthedesert.com for more information and get your tickets now. Heidi ho, this is Jeff Bacon with the DIY Writer Podcast. Today, we're going to talk with Alex Macaluso. Was that?
Alexis Macaluso.
Macaluso? Oh.
Yes.
Is that German? Just kidding.
It is Italian. Really? And it is Alexis.
It is Alexis? I'm sorry. What did I say?
Alex. It's all right.
I said Alex. Okay.
But...
Well, let's just start this whole darn thing over. Alexis Macaluso.
Yes. Perfect.
Cool. And the first thing I'd like to say is that this is going to be kind of an introductory podcast because Alexa is not a published author, but she is going to be. She does an awful lot. If you guys remember the interview that I did with Robert Ottone, I'm sorry. We talked about Alexis and a few other people that are in his publishing company that help him out. And he thought it'd be a really cool idea if we interviewed Alexis. So guess what? We're interviewing Alexis. And I've said your name like 4 times, so I'll never forget. So how are you doing today?
I'm good. How about you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Just kind of chilling. I'm in Wisconsin, so it's fairly nice weather here.
I'm in Michigan, and it's starting to feel really good outside.
It is. Except for the bugs, everything else is pretty cool.
Yeah, I did not know you were in the Midwest.
Yep, I sure am.
You were closer to Rob in Long Island for some reason.
No, but I do hear rumors that he's looking to move to Minnesota, which is kind of cool.
Oh wow, well that'd be awesome.
Maybe I wasn't supposed to say anything about that, but anyway, I don't know. But at some point in time, I want him to come up here so I can take him to all the scary crap that they have around here. They have some places that are kind of haunted and whatever. In fact, where are you at? You're in Grand Rapids, I think, or around that area? Okay.
Yeah, I'm in Grand Rapids. I actually went to a haunted brewery the other day, but I didn't see a thing.
Well, isn't there in Michigan? I'm pretty sure it's in Michigan. I can't remember where though. Isn't there a haunted sanatorium that you can pay like $300 and spend the night in?
I don't know about paying to spend the night, but there is, there's a few old hospitals. There's one up in Traverse City, which I've been to before, which is very cool. The company that I work for my day job, we actually renovated part of it probably 6 or 7 years ago. So I got to spend a bit of time there, and it's definitely worth a trip. I mean, it's the old parts of it are really cool, and the new parts that have been renovated are really beautiful, and the whole area is just awesome. So
if you're not working for a company that's renovating, can just anybody kind of walk through the old parts? Do you have to? Are there tours and stuff, or?
I feel like there are, because there's a bunch of stores and there are restaurants and things like that all over there. I mean, it's really a big draw. It's in a beautiful part of the state this time of year.
Yeah,
a little more harsh in the wintertime, but yeah, we have some cool haunted stuff. We have a haunted painting too, which I just found out about, but I have yet to see that in person.
Oh,
That's
really?
fun. If you want to look that up, it's called, oh gosh, his hand or something like that. Look up haunted painting Grand Rapids and you'll find out all sorts of things about it.
Okay. Just writing a note real quick because I am into haunted stuff. As it sounds like you are too.
Yeah, we got some good stuff. I mean, there's a few good haunted spots in Grand Rapids. There is a house right in my neighborhood that I'm convinced is haunted, and I've been trying to think of a way to get in and see it, without, you know, without breaking the law. I don't want to get thrown in jail, but I would love to see the inside of this house.
Is it
It's,
occupied?
it is. It's right in my neighborhood. It's enormous. It dwarfs every other house easily. I mean, it's so big it has a ballroom inside of it.
Oh, cool.
It's a big white colonial. But anyway, I've been kind of plotting and scheming how to get in there, and I've
It's,
come up with.
I'll tell you something that works out really well for me all the time is I dress up in a suit. Okay, so just dress up. Take your husband with you. Maybe you can get a babysitter or something like that, and walk up and tell them you're from Jehovah's Witness and that you'd like to talk to them about the Lord God, your Savior. They will let you right in. You can talk to them for hours while you explore the house.
That's a good idea. I think I finally found a way in, but I haven't made it happen yet. So
Oh, okay.
that will be my plan B. I've thought about having my kids dress up as like Girl Scout, Boy Scout kind of thing and try to see if they can sweet talk their way in, but they're not having any of that. So
They're not okay. They aren't going to participate in this, huh?
they have no interest in helping me out.
Huh. Have you tried bribery?
No. That's all that I do. That's the only.
Tell you, after a while, they just come to expect it, and it's not really a great parenting thing to do.
You can easily run it down.
Yeah, all of a sudden things get more expensive as they get older. So I need a new car. Oh,
Oh
yeah,
God.
no. How about car seats? Car seat covers. There you go. Something like that. Anyway, so you've got this project that you're working on. It's an animated book, right?
Well, it's kind of a comic book, I guess. Most of them are just single panels, but I've been mining for the past few years some online personal ads. I've been trying to find some of them are obviously a little strange. Some of them are kind of unintentionally funny. Some of them are really, I guess, dirty. And some of them are kind of heartfelt and like, just really fun to read. So I started doing this a few years ago, and I started illustrating them. I looked around and it didn't seem like anybody else was doing that. So I was doing it kind of just for fun and to give myself some more discipline to work on art and sit down and draw every day.
Yeah.
And I did another little project for Robert Otone, which was a trailer for his short story compilation. And he took a liking to these comics, and so we decided to put a book together. So that's what I'm working on right now. And it's a little slow going. I mean, I kind of got my hands full with my day job and my family and everything, but it should
Mm-hmm.
be out here at the end of the year, hopefully November.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. So you're looking at personal ads and you're animating them.
Well, I'm illustrating them.
Illustrating them. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not real good at graphics, so you're gonna have to correct me like 19 times, but that's okay. So I mean, are you like showing them typing it out and little thought bubbles and stuff as they do it, or I mean, how are you doing this? This sounds
Well,
really
some of
interesting.
them, they're all kind of different because I feel like each one demands a different kind of thing. A lot of times it's when I read the ad, how do I imagine what kind of led up to this, or what do I imagine their end goal to be? Like one thing that I see from time to time is it seems to be men, but I'm sure there are other people too who are into it. People have this kind of fantasy about being crushed by a giantess. So this comes up, I mean, more than you would think. So, my illustration of that one, which I think I might have posted on Instagram, was, just this nice man and his fantasy of, a giant foot kind of coming down on him. So, sometimes they're pretty literal. And sometimes they're not. And some of them, people will post things for sale. And sometimes there's no pictures and the descriptions can be kind of amusing. So, I just kind of, it's my imagining of what goes on behind the scenes and what
Giant
brings.
foot fetish. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's not my thing, but it's surprisingly popular. I mean, just the other day I saw another one and I thought, man, I can't have two giantess comics, unfortunately, but
So where are you finding these at? I mean, just a local newspaper or,
like various
just
online personals,
like
websites.
Craigslist and stuff or?
Yeah, stuff like that. There's a ton of them. So I mean, if you comb through, I don't usually spend a whole lot of time, maybe like 10 minutes every day. Usually find one or two that seem like they might be a good potential comic.
Yeah. That is
Sometimes people
fun.
have sale items that have fun stories behind them. They're trying to get rid of some animal that's psychotic or has some weird behavior. I mean, they're all just fun, people's little stories. There's so many, everybody has a strange story to tell, right?
So are you kind of putting a dark twist on these when you create these?
Yeah, sometimes, and some of them are just kind of, I guess yeah, most of them are pretty weird, I would say. I mean, I have compiled some that are a little just maybe sweet or nice. I mean, one that I have completed that is just more nice was a gentleman wanted to get a Zoom meeting together at the start of the pandemic for bears. And I don't know if you're familiar with this, but in the gay community, a bear is like usually a heavier man who is like has a beard, has some facial hair, and often like some body hair. So, that was just like he wanted to connect with his community. So I illustrated that and it was kind of fun. So
Mm-hmm.
that was one that was just a little more straightforward and just kind of cute, a little slice of life thing. But yeah, some of them are pretty weird.
So he wants to he wants to date Chewbacca.
Well, I mean, it's a big deal. There's a gay and LGBTQ plus campsite here in Michigan in Saugatuck, which is not far from us, and they have a whole gift shop with bear apparel and stickers. I mean, it's a thing. It's a big thing. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I'm not really up on that, but okay.
Well, I'm here to tell you. But I guess one thing that I am thinking about as I'm going through an editing and drawing is I am definitely not about making fun of anyone or making people feel bad. I mean, like I said, I don't really want to get crushed by a giant, but if that like makes you feel good to think about that, hey, go ahead. I mean, I find people's stories and their maybe their quirks or whatever you want to call it, I find them endearing and interesting. I'm not looking to tear anybody down for their particular you know fetish or desire or whatever it might be.
I'm not sure what you call being crushed by a giant foot. Is that a fetish or is that a death
I
wish?
think it is. I mean, there's lots of,
It's a little
I don't
bit.
want to send you down a rabbit hole, but I mean, also a giantess fetish community too. I mean, there's whole websites dedicated to this stuff. So you can really get into some interesting things if you want. But
That's a big rabbit hole.
I'm not suggesting it. I mean, just saying. It's
All
there. It's
right.
there.
Alexa says, look at giant porn sites. Okay. Got it. That's
Bookmark it.
really interesting. What's the funniest thing you've ran across in your research for doing this?
Oh gosh, there's so many funny things.
I mean, besides the giant foot. I mean, that one's pretty interesting.
Gosh, I mean, one funny thing to me, and of course these ads are not always very clear. Sometimes they can be a little bit vague as to the details, but one of them, the way that I read it, made it sound like this person was renting out an apartment and then someone was interested in looking at it, came to see it, and then the owner, or whatever you want to call it, the landlord, came to the door naked. And this is one, yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of detail, but just imagining that in my head, I mean, you knock on the door and then the person answers it and they're nude. I mean, you're not expecting it, right? I mean, I wouldn't be. So
See, when I hear that in my mind, I'm thinking, kind of a chunky, balding Lebanese guy who's got hair all over the place, and he just opens up the door. Hey, how you doing? That's more
well,
Italian than anything.
I was definitely imagining someone that I used to know who seemed like the kind of person who might do something like that, kind of free with his naked body and, not shy. So that's the way that I illustrated it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of, I mean, it's a gold mine.
Just so you know, there are no rules on this. You can curse, you can do whatever you want. So, I mean, just be yourself. But, if you're trying to restrain yourself, I don't care about language or anything like that. We're all good there. I forgot to go over the rules with you before when we were chatting before we started recording, but that's okay. So that sounds like some freaky shit. Hey, how you doing? You want to rent this apartment? No. I have a hot tub in the back. No, not that either. I'm sorry.
There's not a universe where I would greet anybody at the door naked, but somebody's out there that thinks it might work, might pan out.
The funniest thing, and this is going to sound stupid, but my mom does listen to some of my podcasts every now and then. So I'll be interested if she catches this or not, because if she does, she's going to give me a call right away. But so my 20-year-old daughter, Mackenzie, they're going to babysit her one day. So we drive up to the farmhouse and everything's dark. It's like, oh, did they sleep in? What's kind of going on here? I went up, knocked on the door. Nobody was there. Went back to the car. And so I'm calling. It's like, and they're not answering. She's not answering the phone. It's like, hello, okay. Are you still there? I started to get worried because it's like, okay, my parents are older, so retired. It's like, did something happen? Do I need to break into the house and see if they're okay? Just kind of thinking. So anyway, my daughter goes, oh, and I kind of look up and said, what's wrong? I think I saw grandma. Now all of a sudden, the curtains open, and so there's a picture window that's wide open, but I could see her peeking through the door, and then she dashes through the living room and she's butt ass naked. And it's just like, oh my God, get that out of your mind. And also for my daughter, she's like, I'm not sure I want to stay here today. It's like, don't worry, grandma's going to put clothes on.
Did you see your dad?
What's that? No, he stayed in bed. But yeah, that was just kind of funny. And it's, you walk in and how you doing? And she goes, yeah, I didn't think about not running that way to go get my robe. It's like, okay. She goes, but we sleep naked. And it's like, nope, didn't know that. That's good to know. Thank you. No more information is needed. Thank you.
But it's nice if your parents are retirement age and they still are, having a healthy sex life. I mean, that's great.
I'm sure she'll be thrilled that we're talking about it, her being Baptist and everything. She'll be like, oh my God,
We can talk about my parents' sex lives now if that will make her feel better.
Okay, sure. That's much better than my parents. Oh boy. But it's kind of tit for tat, because when I'm talking to my older daughters, and I'll start saying something kind of flirtatious or something kind of a little dirty, and I'm kind of winking at the, hey honey, they also get the same like, you know, gag stuff. So that's good. You
Yeah,
know.
my kids think, if my kids see me in my undies on the way to the shower or whatever, they either think it's the funniest thing they've ever seen, or they think it's the grossest thing they've ever seen. It's very humbling.
What's fun is how old are your kids? I'm sorry.
They are 10, 6, and 5.
Okay. So the 10-year-old in about 5 years is going to be embarrassed of everything that you do. Just, probably like 3 years or sooner.
He'll go off sometimes about how weird I am, I mean, he thinks some of the stuff I do is weird, but he's a little eccentric too, so
Oh.
he's heading for the same fate. I mean, he can only tear me down so much. He's kind of a unique little kid.
So what you do is, if you drop them off to school at some point in time, before they can drive, you jump out of the car, come back here and give your mommy a kiss. Come on. I love you, son.
Well, I've just been in the mood to play the Beatles a lot, and I've been playing A Day in the Life, which is one of my favorite songs. And he really took a liking to it, and he told me that he was trying to think of the name of it so he could play it at school. And I said, that's fantastic. Here's the name of the song. I said, when I was younger, I really liked older music too. And I played it for my classmates, and I thought they were going to be like really blown away. and he finished my sentence, and he was like, and they thought you were a huge geek. And I said, yes. Yeah. That's exactly what happened.
That's exactly what happened. It is it's kind of funny the way that works out, because there's an awful lot of music that I listen to now that when I was a teenager, I would have never listened to. I just never would have. But now you kind of get it, and everything else. But I think the one band that I hated back when I was in college, and I love them now, is Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you have to hear something over and over and over, it doesn't matter what it is. It starts to drive you insane. Mm-hmm. I remember the acoustic version of Layla came out when I was a kid, and I was young. I was probably 7 or 8, but it was on the radio incessantly, and I just grew to hate that song. And now, mm-hmm. of course, I listen to it and I'm like, well, the original is great. The acoustic version is also great. I can enjoy it a lot. But at the time, when you hear it at every store, every time you turn on the radio, I mean, yeah.
I remember when that came out, in same exact thing. It's like, number one, it's not the original. Number two, it's like, radio stations kill things. They just kill them, to death.
It might probably better now. I mean, we all have our streaming services and stuff with that. And then I remember during the Gulf War, that song From a Distance. Do you remember that?
No, From a Distance.
Slow kind of, I don't want to, it was just a sappy.
No, go ahead and sing some for us. That'd be entertaining.
From a distance.
Oh, that Gulf War. I'm sorry. I've been through too.
Yeah, 89, I guess.
Yeah.
That song everywhere, coming out of every speaker. And even at that age, when I was 6 and 7, I just remember thinking, enough already with this song. If a 6-year-old knows that it's getting overplayed, like, that's bad.
Mm-hmm.
It was terrible. That one I'm not at a place where I can enjoy any.
See, even in 2021, I hate that song.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It is.
Yeah.
I remember
32 years later.
Yeah. It is still horrible. But I don't know. I have such a wide variety of music that I listen to. It's not even, I mean, it just kind of depends on the day, I guess. But I just Beatles, I've been kind of in and out of them. There's sometimes when I just hate them, and there's sometimes where it's like, yeah, I can listen to them for like a day or so. But
my era for music in like late high school, that would have been late 90s, early 2000s for me, and bar none, just the worst period for music. I mean, there was nothing good happening. Maybe some indie bands and things like that, but mainstream music at that time was just terrible. I mean,
What
it was
time period?
awful.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
I graduated in 2001, so late 90s, early 2000s. You have like Stained and Nickelback and Incubus and things like that. I mean, there's just nothing. It's irredeemable. There was nothing good happening at all.
You
No.
know, what's funny is that Nickelback gets a really, I mean, they get a really bad rap, but everybody listens to them.
Well, I don't know about that.
I know a lot of people who just I make fun of them all the time. You know, somebody gets fired fairly quickly. It's like, oh, so you had a Nickelback career. That's awesome. You know,
Oh,
or some, yeah, I mean, and way back in the day, before Nickelback, it was Billy Squire, because he had two
yeah,
hits and done.
I don't even, I guess I have to be honest. What are his hits? I don't know what.
Oh, Billy Squire. Gosh.
If you name the songs, I probably know them, but
Oh, just a minute. I can't even remember. I don't listen to them, but I make an awful lot of fun of them.
I worked at a place where we had the radio going constantly, and I heard so many terrible songs. I'm sure they were among them, Hall & Oates and all that sort of thing.
Everybody Wants You and The Stroke.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a terrible song. That's
Yeah.
awful.
And then Lonely as the Night. So I guess he had three.
Yeah, The Stroke is a terrible song, and they did play that at my past job, along with Dancing in the Moonlight and After the Light and all those terrible, terrible.
Yeah. Well, the other Billy Idol was really good. I liked him. But I'm sitting here looking. I just looked it up. You know how they have the panel on Google, the information panel or whatever, and he's got the most god awful picture up there. This is Billy Idol right after he got done, serving time. I'm guessing if you click on it, there's going to be a number right across his chest or something. But
He needs to get with his people and see if he can get that sorted out. It seems like he might have a little sway, but maybe not.
All you have to do is go in there and say, hey, change this picture. Google will do it for you. But
yeah, well, maybe you can find him on Instagram and send him a message.
I don't think so. I'm not that interested. So what else you got planned? You seem to like doing this animation stuff and everything, and is there a graphic novel in your future?
So I got a couple things that I'm kind of trying to think about. My brother and I and one of our friends collaborated, and we have a YouTube channel which is called Night Waves, which is some kind of ghost stories and creepy stories that we found. Some of them are from people we know, and some of them we credited them. They're from Reddit and message boards. So I would really love to revisit that and do a few more of those. I hit up a bunch of my neighbors for their scary stories, and I got some really cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So those are fun. If you like haunted house spooky stories, I would recommend that you check that out. They're only 2 or 3 minutes long, but that's a really fun project. And then my brother is a really excellent writer, and he had a story published that I was working on turning into a graphic novel. So I would really like to finish that. The kind of medium that I chose is so time consuming that I feel like it's going to be one of those things that I might publish sometime before I'm dead, but it's going to be a long time. And
so
that's a story.
Do you draw strictly on the computer, or do you do like freehand and then convert it, scan it?
Well, for the book I'm doing for Robert O'Tone, which is the personal ads, is all on the computer. Like I have the pencil, the stylus, the drawing program, but that's more not so much an aesthetic choice as just a time choice. I mean, hand drawing, I do love it and it's my passion, but it is quite time consuming. And when I was trying to illustrate this comic for my brother, I was doing colored pencil, and that is very time consuming. I mean, I'm not sure if you know anything about it, but you really have to layer. I mean, it's hours and
Hmm.
hours and hours. It's tough to do that and make a whole lot of headway. So I'm trying to figure out if I want to do kind of a mixed media thing and do some colored pencil, maybe some just graphite pencil, or take it in another direction. And then there's also a story which is an original story, which I've been sketching out some storyboards, uh, and I'm kind of hoping to do that when my book is complete. But with the writer aspect, that's something I haven't really done in a long time. So I am very rusty, and I'm looking at my storyboards and trying to give it a critical eye. And it's kind of something more serious. I usually do something that's kind of silly or funny. So
Hmm.
I'm also looking at it thinking, man, does anybody even want to read something so kind of serious and downer, or should I just be silly? You
But
know?
you can't think that way. You got to just do it. Whatever speaks to you, you got to do that. And then whether or not somebody reads it or not, I mean, it'll come. There's a group of 10,000 people that love everything.
Yeah, this is true. It's a good point. I mean, I do try to remind myself, I'm sure every person who has any kind of creative pursuit, you have this conversation in your head of, is this good enough? Is anybody going to like it? And then you have to think, well, I mean, there's all sorts of artists and writers that I love, and maybe none of them is the best writer or the best artist on the face of the earth, but they have something to say, or they have a way of expressing themselves that really moves me.
Hmm.
So maybe somebody out there will be drawn to this story too.
You know what? I was talking to another author, and I actually didn't know this, but he's been talking to he's a published author through a traditional publishing house, and he's also an indie author, and he's written some pretty successful books. And he was talking to a publisher, and the one thing that I thought was really funny was a first-time author. Do you know how many books they have to sell through that publisher to be considered a huge success?
No, I have no idea.
Take a guess.
100,000.
Five.
Really?
5,000.
Can you get me with this publishing house?
That's the industry standard for a first time author, is that if you sell more than 5,000 books, you sell 5,001, you're a success.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I
That's
thought
good news.
that number was incredibly low.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Everything that I've read for self-publishing has been, and everybody I've talked to kind of measures it the same way. Within 90 days, you should have at least 900 book sales. If you do not, then you flopped. And it's like, huh, you know,
Well, of course, the other thing too. I mean, there's lots of successful writers out there, and I am very happy for them. But for a lot of us, publishing a book or even being considered, it's a big deal, and it's something that you hope for, and that in itself is really exciting, and it's
mhm.
just a wonderful gift. So, I mean, I'm cool with being a flop. I don't mind being a flop as a published author. A few years ago, I would never have guessed that anybody would care about my Craigslist illustrations other than my dad. So, you
Yeah,
know.
but it's a cool idea.
But
It really is, and since you're kind of associated with Robert, I was kind of expecting something from a horror type, like here's this illustration of this ad, and then making up a backstory that goes behind it. That's like, this is a horror thing, ending with
well,
somebody being crushed
that's
by a giant foot for real.
for some people that's not horror. That's their dream come true. But yeah, I mean, I love the horror genre, and the story that I was working on, the comic book with my brother, that was a horror story. And then the haunted house stories, of course, that's how I got connected with Robert. We have a mutual friend who gave him a link to our YouTube site. And the story that I'm working on in my head and in my storyboards is not really a horror story, but it is maybe a darker story about death or the loss of somebody. So I definitely kind of veer in that direction too. I mean,
I noticed a dark aura around you. No, just kidding.
a lot of people say that. I get
Oh,
that
do
all the time.
they? They talk to you for 5 minutes, like, oh shit, you're dark. Yeah. Got a problem with that? You know. Oh well. You know what? I heard on the news and I haven't actually looked it up yet, but I guess there's another Saw movie coming out. Speaking of dark.
I have not heard about that, but I I'm a little more keyed into maybe the indie horror movies than the mainstream ones.
Okay.
It's, I mean, I love a lot of the older ones. Rosemary's Baby is probably my favorite movie.
Oof.
I'm not sure if you're a fan.
Yep.
Gosh, Rosemary's Baby. I'm trying to think of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. Uh,
Really? Because I hate those. I think they're the dumbest things ever. I think the
the
third one is
original,
probably the best one, but the first one sucked.
the first one from the 70s, the Toby Hooper one.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Gosh, I mean, the only movie that I've ever seen that really truly scared me and kept me up all night was the Dutch movie called Spoorloos. The title in English is The Vanishing. Have you ever seen that
Yeah.
before?
Yep.
That one truly, I watched it all alone, and I laid awake in bed until 2 in the morning. I mean, it really disturbed me. It wasn't like a fun popcorn movie. It disturbed me to my core, and it still freaks me out. Like even just the poster scares me. No movie has ever had that kind of effect on me before. That one really.
What I always thought was funny is we would have these parties and it would be, 3 Friday the 13th movies, just pick 3 of them. There's 100 of them, but whatever. And it wasn't scary at all. It was just like, okay, this person's going to die. And we would take bets. Is it a machete? Is it a rake? Is it I mean, it was just, and I thought they were just dumb because they weren't really scary. They were just kind of like, the slashers. And then came around Nightmare on Elm Street, which is like, okay, here's a story. You can't go to sleep because if you do, he's going to kill you in your dreams. Oh my, that kept me up.
The home invasion movies never used to scare me, and I don't know if it's because I'm a homeowner now and I have kids, but when I watch any kind of home invasion, anything, even like American Horror Story or something cheesy like that, it always gives me nightmares. I wake up with bad dreams in the middle of the night. They never used to bother me at all, and now they always do.
A friend of mine wrote a book about a cyber stalker. And this guy went to the extent of knowing when they're going to have their vacation in Florida and this and that and the other thing, and went there ahead of time and set up a little living space in the walls, and found the space and was able to surveil him and surveil his future victim as he lived in the walls, and just kind of watched him, and he just waited for his opportunity to steal this, I think it was a 16-year-old girl. And it's like, oh shit.
Yeah. When you have kids, or for me, I mean, I know not everybody reacts like this, but anything with a kid, I can't. Like, I'm such a baby now. I mean, if a kid gets hurt, if a kid, gets killed in a movie, I'm done. I can turn it off. It's kind of sad, but.
So how do you feel about it?
Oh, actually, I like the new one, the first one. They do kind of triumph in the end, but I feel like when I watched it, I read it as a young kid. I mean, my best friend and I have always been really into Stephen King, him more so than me. And we read it probably when we were in 7th or 8th grade during the summer. And when I watched it as an adult, it really seemed like, in a lot of Stephen King's work, it seems like it is all about childhood. And I kind of see it now as, all the kids they're kind of tormented by things that come from the world of adults, child abuse or just poverty, and bullies and things like that. And that's really, what kind of tears them down and tries to destroy them. And I think a lot of his work and even like his book on writing, I'm sure you've read that before. It sounds like childhood for him was pretty brutal. I mean, where he grew up, the bullies were psychos,
Yep.
people were not, life was not kind for kids. So it was, yeah, it's a tough story, but I think that the message, I guess, is, in my mind, take care of younger people and make a more positive growing up experience for them. And
What I find funny about that is, I grew up in the 70s. I mean, I was, just a young lad, but I was a teenager in the 80s. And, the things that I thought I had a really great childhood, and it was fun. And, there were fist fights, there were, bullies, there were, I mean, I think I went to a school so small, I think we took turns being bullies. I think we just like, okay, it's Tuesday, it's your turn, type thing or whatever, just because I don't think we really had a class bully, but, and maybe it was me, I don't know. But
can't remember it.
I can't remember exactly. But, I mean, if we would have been born in 2000, I'm pretty sure all of us would have been in jail. I mean, it is, the life that I see kids living now versus, what we did. We were shooting guns, we were shooting fireworks, we were doing, I mean, we'd throw things that explode into a creek and watch what floats up. I mean, it was just, country kids. And it was, it wasn't frowned upon or anything like that. I mean, if you did that now, you'd be in therapy at the very least.
Yeah, it was a different world for sure. I mean, I grew up out in the country too. I went to a very small school. We had about 80 kids in our graduating class, and the street that we lived on is still a dirt, unpaved road. We were out in the middle of nowhere, and it was a totally different life. I mean, I talk to my kids about that all the time. The technology obviously has changed quite a bit, but there was no entertainment. I mean, we had 2 or 3 TV channels when I was a kid. And you were reading and drawing and playing outside, and that was it. There wasn't really a whole lot else to do. So
yeah, but you didn't realize it because you're having fun doing other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed my somewhat remote rural childhood, and it made me very good at entertaining myself. I mean, I'm happy to be in my own company. I'm happy to draw. I'm happy to write for hours at a stretch, or just be outdoors. And I mean, I can't speak for other people's kids, but mine are definitely, if I set them loose outdoors for 8 or 10 hours, I think they'd have a hard time coming up with stuff to do.
Yep. Yeah, all the things you can do with a stick.
Yeah, I mean, walking in the woods by yourself. But I've had the experience too. It wasn't that long ago. We have a big open field across from our house. We live in a well-populated part of Grand Rapids. I don't live in the middle of nowhere, but my 2 younger kids were playing in the snow, and I was cross-country skiing. I was just like going around the field. I can see them from everywhere. And one of my neighbors was like, "Aren't those your kids over there?" I said, "Yeah." She's like, "Well, aren't you going to go over by them?" Like, I'm pretty sure they can be 100 yards away from me for a couple of minutes. I mean, people really expect you as a parent now to be on top of your kids 24/7, watching every little thing they do. And I don't let them wander around unsupervised, downtown at night or anything like that. But they got to have a little bit of freedom.
They aren't hitting the bars, so they're good where they're at.
Yeah. You don't give them a $20 bill and send them off to the bar, but I mean, my gosh, at some point you got to learn how to function on your own and make some choices and, have a little fun without an adult standing over you telling you what to do.
Just think how cultured they'll be when they grow up.
I hope so. Gosh, they'll be able to navigate their way out of any bad situation, right?
Most of them.
Yeah.
Some will have some
Barb,
questions on, but most of them, yeah, they'll be able to, kind of get through that. So we're running up in about 45 minutes now. You got anything else you want to add to your? I'm looking forward to your book coming out, so I'm hoping that you come back on when you get this thing published.
gosh, would you have me? I feel like usually people want me to stop talking. I don't usually have anybody asking me to talk more.
Well, you see, here's the thing: a podcast is all about talking, and you've done excellent. So yeah, I think that's a good show.
Yeah, I would love to come back, and the book should be out in November. And then yeah, check out the YouTube channel. It's called Night Waves, and there's not a ton of stuff on there. There's probably 4 or 5 videos, but they're really fun and the stories are pretty cool.
Okay.
And I'm sure all my neighbors that I got stories out of and harassed would probably like to see them eventually animated and put up on YouTube. So
I will actually I'll find that channel. I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay. Do you want me to send you the link? Because
Sure.
Okay, that might make your life a little easier.
I appreciate anything. It makes things easier for me.
Yeah, I can send you my Instagram too if you want.
Yep. Anything you want to send me, I'll throw it in the show notes. That way people can find you.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
All right.
Well, hey, this was really fun. Thanks for having me on. It was an honor.
No, it's my honor. I want to thank you very much for your time, first of all.
Yeah.
And it's been a pleasure getting to know you. I can't wait to see this when this comes out. It sounds like it's just astonishingly a brilliant idea. I'm kind of, I don't want you to give away too much, but I'm also like, where the hell did you come up with this idea? It's pretty awesome. But
well, you can see some of the comics if you feel like checking out Instagram. It's nothing too fancy, but hopefully it will be entertaining. I look at them so much, I'm like, oh, nobody's going to care about this. But then I realize not everyone combs through personal ads every day. And so, you never knew about the giantess fetish. So some of this is going to come as a new news to people, I guess.
I'm pretty naive when it comes to fetishes. So,
yeah. Well, you're going to learn a lot. It's going to be a fun.
Well, I'm looking forward to the education. Kind of. If when you come back on, I'm a changed man, I will blame you publicly.
If you're wearing a studded leather collar the next time I'm on, I'll take full credit for that.
I am just going to write that a note. Studded collar. Okay. I'm pretty sure I can find one of those.
Hey, when is the podcast going to go on? I don't know how long the editing process takes.
Oh, we haven't even finished up the show yet. So.
Oh, okay.
Usually takes about 2 weeks.
Okay.
So it'll be fairly quick. I'm trying to get them out faster. But before we go into that part of it, I do want to say this is Jeff Bacon with DIY Writer Podcast, telling you to have a great day, keep your chin up, and enjoy the outdoors, please. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Please hit the subscribe button. I get a bonus for every subscriber, and I only need 1,506 more to become a full-time paid employee. Help me, please.